the Prime Minister has spelled out in his editorial what India's priorities would be. One is that whether, at this particular moment, there's a looming crisis of slowdown of growth all across the world. And this is essentially an economic grouping. So how do we accelerate the pace of inclusive, resilient, sustainable growth will be a key challenge before the leaders of the world. The second key challenge to my mind will be that vast segments of the population have been impacted by education, health due to post-COVID era, the sustainable development goals. We will be midway through the 2030 action plan. Instead of progressing, we have actually regressed. And therefore, how do you accelerate the pace of this lifting people above the poverty line will be a central issue. Thirdly, I think to my mind, if you want to lift people above the poverty line, if you want to make a big difference, then you have to use technology to leapfrog, and therefore digital transformation, whether the model which India has built up of digital public infrastructure, that is allowing rail tracks to be built on top of which the private sector has innovated, the model of open source, open APIs, interoperability, can this be replicated across many other countries of the world, and can India provide that model? Fourthly, I think the Prime Minister is very clear that health, India has a unique model. India is the pharmacy of the world. India is the vaccine capital of the world. It has provided vaccines through Vaccine Maitri. So how do we accelerate the Indian model, which is integrated wellness, Ayurveda, and yoga, etc.? Can this model of can assist the rest of the world? And when we do this, and we want to accelerate the pace of climate action and climate finance, which the developed world had committed to in 2009 at Copenhagen, which it has not lived up to. How do you push that agenda? And as a consequence of that, the reforms of multilateral institutions, they were built in the post-Bretton Woods, post-World War II period. Can we reform these institutions which India has been pursuing for a long time? And lastly, the PM has emphasized in his Bali speech very strongly that women constitute more than 50% of India's population, and so in the world as well. So if how do you can't grow at rapid pace till women-led development, and he's used the word women-led development, and therefore how do you bring in greater level of leadership? How do you bring in greater financial inclusion? How do you improve health, education outcomes, learning outcomes for them? And how do you put them into positions of authority and power? And that will be a very critical issue to deal with. So these are the broad priorities which India will deal with.